I'm Denton Davidson for Gold Derby here with Juho Kuosmanen, the director and co-writer of Finland's entry for Best International Feature Film at the 94th Academy Awards, Compartment No. 6. Juho, I just want to start by asking, what was your reaction when your film was chosen to represent Finland for Academy Award consideration? Because each country can only submit one non-English film. So what was your reaction and what do you hope to represent for Finnish filmmaking this year?
Well, I was really happy. Obviously, I was also surprised because it's a Russian language film. It's like mostly in Russian, even though it's a Finnish production and I'm Finnish director. So I thought that could be a problem for Finnish. It's a Finnish director, Finnish production, and also so it was. Obviously, it's a big thing. I mean, it's the even though we had won some awards, the Oscar is like totally a next level thing.
And the film is about this unlikely friendship that forms between a Finnish woman and a Russian miner while they both take this train out of Moscow. And it's inspired by the novel from Rosa Liksom. What was it about this story and these characters that inspired you to co-write a screenplay and direct this for the cinema?
Well, I found it immediately very cinematic novel. I read it already 10 years ago when it was published, and but at that time I also had so much doubts because there's so much more in the novel. I felt like, okay, there's a potential for a great film, but there's also like so many things that we should leave out, and I really know how to do it. But then, like, basically every time when I stepped into train, especially when I was in Russia traveling with the train, I started to think about that book that I read some time ago, and then I read it again, and it was just like it didn't leave me alone. So I think it's especially this train ride, which is the part of the novel. I found it somehow like very, at the same time, very simple as a plot-wise. The plot is very simple. It's just basically, it's a road movie. They step into the train, they are in the train, they step out. But at the same time, there was so like, there was very deep, this humane content, this encounter between with the other, and this kind of idea to see something similar in the other. So I think this train ride, the visuals of Russian landscape and this encounter between two characters, I think was all the time the core of our film. In the novel there are much more, but this was something we kept.
And the film begins with Laura in Moscow at this gathering of friends, and she doesn't really fit in. They're very philosophical. They're quoting all of these books. She's sort of bored by all of them, really. But she's only really there because she's in sort of this love affair with this other woman. We sense her discomfort, and I'm curious what it was like to shoot that opening scene in the apartment and write that dialogue, because I think that really sets the tone for the character of Laura.
Yeah, well, it's really a important scene. It's just even though it's not part of the train ride, but as you said, it really sets the tone of her character. And I have to say, it was impossible. It was not impossible. It was really difficult to write, and because the situation is complex, because she doesn't feel like she belongs to this crew, but she would like to belong. But there's also something that is distracting. I think this idea of that she is outside of this group. She is the one that kind of makes her kind of not hate the people, but you know, to feel like, I don't know, I'm not just at home.
Right.
At the same time, she will same time she would like to be like one of them, this kind of Moscovian intellectual. And then we talked about with Sadie, with the lead actress, a lot about this scene, and actually we decided to shoot this scene on the last days of the shootings. Okay. Because we needed, even though it was written and we were happy with the way it was written, but still we were doubting some tones. So we felt like if we will shoot it in the end, in the last days, then we know already more about her character that we learn during the shooting. So yeah, it was the tone was hard to find. Yeah.
Laura gets on a train out of Moscow and is seated next to Lyoha in this compartment. And it's a terrible first impression. And Lyoha is drunk and making these awful comments towards Laura. But they're forced to stick together for days on this compartment. And eventually she comes around and notices a more human side of him. Do you think there's part of Laura, even though she's educated, that realizes she has more in common with Lyoha than the elite students she was hanging out with in Moscow?
Yes, exactly. It's I think in a way her personal journey is from the beginning. She would like to be like this Irina and this literature professor, but during this trip she realized that actually I am more like Lyoha, and then it's this difficulty to accept that I'm not like Irina. Yeah. I'm more like this Lyoha, this guy from this mine. So yes, it is exactly. I think they are, even though in the beginning they feel so different and disconnected. I think it's not because the way they are, but in the beginning they are so covered by these different layers or shields that they are like they're hiding behind these roles, like right. A role of a Russian man or role of a bit arrogant student, and it's so it's not really the truth of them.
They're able to be themselves with each other at some point.
Yeah, they when they start to trust each other, they start to also see these kind of small things like maybe he's not that bad as he seemed, and little by little they get more and more connected. And I've felt when directing them and also casting them, I felt like these actors, Yuri and Sadie, there was something like I think they felt more like siblings, like kind of almost like twins.
Yeah.
In the first impression was like something like that, and so yeah, they're kind of like melting together through the journey.
And part of it is that Leo has, he's gritty, and when the train stops, he takes her out to these small towns and they meet interesting people, and they have fun and they laugh. What do you think we can all learn from a character like Lyoha?
I think he's ready to act, and he's ready to go and see, and he's like always like, yes, let's go, let's try. And I think compared to Laura's state of mind, I think she has more like this kind of romantic mind setting that you're hoping something, you're dreaming something, but you never really get the fulfillment of life because you're always dreaming something a bit better, something a bit more beautiful, or you would like to be a better version yourself than you are.
And in casting this film, how did you find Sadie Harla and Yuri Borisov? Because I thought they were both fantastic actors and gave great performances.
Yeah, this is one of those films that is really like character driven and really based on the like between them. I think the core of the film happens between them, so it was really essential to find right actors. And Sadie Harla was actually already involved on the process like more than a year before the shootings, because I needed her help to define the character when we were still writing the script, but I felt like I need some help from actress, from a female actress, and first we just started to talk about this story, and then it felt it was going well, so we decided to also work together on the shootings. And then we had difficulties to find the Russian guy, because in the script the guy was around 50s, and like in the book, but we didn't really found the perfect kind of a couple for this film. And then I saw Yuri Borisov in one film called The Bull, and I wanted to meet him. The casting director was actually a bit shocked, because he said, like, this guy's totally different than the one you have in the script and the one that we've been looking for all the time. But it was a strong intuition, and then when I saw Sadie and Jura together in the same room, I immediately felt like, okay, this is it. We just need to fix the script, but this is the couple for our film.
Yeah. And much of the film takes place on the train. What were the biggest challenges in shooting in such a cramped space?
I think the fact that everything was so slow, that was because during shootings you are always working against time. You're always a little bit hurry, and when you are working in that kind of space, all the departments they can't work simultaneously. So if you need to fix something, it's like, okay, let's clean the compartment now. Okay, the sound guys, you can go and fix your microphones and all that thing. So it was very slow, and for me as a director, the biggest difficulty was to stay in a different compartment than the actors. So I couldn't be in the same space with them, and I had to direct through the monitor. And this is something I really don't want to do, because it changes the way I'm directing. I'm focusing on wrong things when I'm watching the monitor.
Yeah,
I start to treat the actors like objects on the frame, but I think it's better to be in the same space and see them as a living human beings, and to feel the whole vibe and the situation. And then you can check always the take from the monitor. But now I had to be there because there was no space. There was only the actors and DOP with the assistant in the compartment.
And the film takes place with this rugged, cold landscape. As you said, it's a finished production, but it's taking place in Russia. What cities or regions did you film in to capture the backdrop that you wanted?
We shoot it in St. Petersburg, and then we did almost all the train scenes around St. Petersburg.
Okay.
And then we went to Petrozavodsk, which is where we shot the scene. Some scenes on the platform and on the train station, and then with the old woman. And then we went to the north, to the Murmansk and Alenogorsk, and this small village called Teriberka.
Okay.
We did a long trip, and actually we were supposed to go to finish the shootings in Moscow, and this first scene was supposed to shoot in Moscow, but because of the COVID situation in Moscow, it was already closed, so we couldn't even enter the city. So we shot that scene also in St. Petersburg.
And what do you hope people take away from this film after watching it? Or what feeling would you like people to have when they watch this movie?
Well, to accept that life is not perfect. Life is imperfect. It's the nature of life. It's the nature of human beings. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that it's, ugly and sad. It's, you know, it's still life, even though it's so imperfect and unfair even, and many times it's still a magical moment, and it's only a fleeting moment, so it's this kind of a wonder of life.
And as just a final question, I'm curious about your story, Juho. Who inspired you to become a filmmaker? Was there a certain director or actor or particular film that made an impact on you, and what pushed you in this direction of filmmaking?
Well, actually, when I was a teenager, I was very much interested about in theater. That was like my main interest, and luckily I never got into a theater school. And when I moved to Helsinki, I started to see much more films. I started to go to see cinema more than theater, and then it started to change. I think, look, they are like obviously like great strong films for me from my teenage years that I really loved, like everything starting from Spinal Tap. But
Okay.
I think in film school, when I really was like, okay, this is the way I want to make films. This is the idea of filmmaking for me. I think they were a bit more serious films like Renoir or the Italian classics, the neorealistic classics. This idea of seeing something beautiful in the shadows, to see somewhere where we usually don't watch, and the way we can change our way of seeing things like they did. I think this idea of filmmaking was really like one kind of key for filmmaking that I still have.
Well, I think you chose the right direction, Juho, and congratulations on this film. It was a pleasure speaking with you, and I want to encourage our viewers to head over to goldderby.com, make your awards predictions, and check out more interviews with top contenders. Juho, thanks again for speaking with me today about your work on Compartment Number 6.
Thank you. It was a nice chat.